All right, here we go. Let's do an introduction of our host today, Regent Evan Dreyfuss, who graduated from the University of the Pacific in 1986 from the Eberhart School of Business. He was elected to the Board of Regents in 2015. Regent Dreyfuss has been the portfolio manager of Twin Lakes Total Return Partners since 2002. Previously, he held management positions at RMB Capital, Talon Asset Management, and Secna Capital Management, as well as other investment firms. He serves on several school and foundational boards and is the president and member of Skinless School Board. He has served at the University of the Pacific on commissions, committees, and advisory boards, as well as being a guest lecturer for the Eberhart School of Business. During his time on the Board of Regents, Evan Dreyfuss has served on the Audit Committee, the Investment Committee, and the Executive Committee. He has also served as the treasurer of the board and chaired the Ad Hoc Committee on Undergraduate Enrollment. He and his wife, Liz, live outside Syracuse, New York, with their 3 children. And please let us welcome President Chris Callahan, who's joined us this past July as the 26th president of the University of the Pacific. Prior to that, he has served as the founding dean of the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication at Arizona State University. He, as the vice provost of ASU downtown Phoenix campus and the chief executive officer of Arizona PBS. President Callahan holds a master's degree in public administration from the Harvard University's John F. Kennedy School of Government and a bachelor degree in journalism from Boston's University College of Communication. Prior to ASU, he was at University of Maryland, where he served as the Associate Dean of the Philip Merrill College of Journalism and Senior Editor of the American Journalism Review. President Callahan lives on the Stockton campus with his wife of 34 years, Jean. They have 2 grown sons, Cody and Casey, and the newest addition to the Callahan family is Callie, a 4-month-old golden retriever. Please join me in welcoming President Callahan and our host for today's conversation, Regent Evan Dreyfuss.
Thank you very much, Chris. And I want to say a big hello from the East Coast. That backdrop you're looking at is actually real. It's Skinny Atlas Lake. It's outside of Syracuse where I live. Anyone that you don't want to come here in February, January, or March, but anyone who comes this summer with an orange Pacific shirt on is more than welcome. We'll take you out on that lake. It's really, really pretty. But I want to thank, before we get started, I really want to thank Kelly Page and their entire staff that's behind all of this. Chris Ortega, who's running the show tonight. So thank you very much. Also want to thank President Callahan. This is his 4th time doing this. It's important, and we'll go over why in a few minutes. But before we start tonight, I thought it'd be important to talk about my experience at Pacific. It's a long time ago. I came in 1982 and graduated in 1986. But before I talk about the experience, I think it's good to talk about our mission a little bit and talk about how that really relates to me. So let me just read the mission statement very, very quickly. But our mission statement is to provide a superior student-centered learning experience, integrating liberal arts and professional education for lasting achievement in their career and community. So when I think of that mission statement, I am the poster child for that mission statement. I came in 1982, and when you come out of high school, you come in as a kid. I entered as a freshman, and I left 4 years later, really as an adult. I had a great education. I was able to sit in that front row, ask a lot of questions, learn a lot, meet long-lasting friends, and came out with a very solid educational background. The people I met and the things I learned over that 4 years really shaped the foundation of who I am and what I've become. And that really, when I think about it, is the power of Pacific. It's that individualized education, and where you can come out and really make something of yourself and give back. And when I think about my life, I did graduate in 1986. I was lucky enough to get into the financial services industry in an internship program where I met kids from all around California, from the schools we compete with, Pepperdine, LMU, Santa Clara, the public schools, UC Davis, Berkeley, UCLA, And I can tell you honestly that I was so well prepared. I was shocked. I thought, wow, Pacific was really, really good for me. I was able to really, really do well. And Pacific really put me on the path to my current career. Been an institutional money manager for 35 years. So it's really, really was a beneficial start. And I've always been appreciative of that. And I've always tried to stay in touch and give back. And that is really the power of Pacific, where you can really learn, and the mission of the school is to help you unleash that passion for whatever you'd like to do. And you can do that at our institution. I'm not saying you can't do that at a Cal Berkeley or somewhere really big, but at Pacific, that's our hallmark and that's our trademark. And I'm very, very appreciative of that start. So what's it mean to be a regent? Well, I've been a regent now for 6 years. And some of these universities, as President Callahan could tell you, they're very large boards. They're really money boards and power boards. They're really not a working board. Pacific is a working board, where our board is really 23 to 30 participants, probably about 25 right now. We're really there from a governance standpoint and fiduciary standpoint. We're supposed to hire the president. We want to support the president in creating a vision and direction for the university. The Board of Regents is really not there to micromanage. We're not there to run the day-to-day. We're there to really help a lending hand. This is a working board. And when you think about Pacific, it's a $300 million business with 6,000 kids, 3 campuses. I mean, I don't know the number of employees, 1,000 plus employees. So we're there to help. And all the different aspects. We help in finance, curriculum, student life, marketing, the endowment, which we'll talk about later. I'm happy to report after 6 years, the school is in really good shape. You know, when you think about what you read out there about higher education, our endowment is good for the size of our school. Our budgets are sound. There are some universities out there, smaller ones, that are chronically, they're just broken. They're not going to work. Pacific works really well. And we're here as a board from a governance and fiduciary standpoint. And we're also here for the stakeholders. I mean, one of the most exciting things about being a regent is meeting the staff, the professors, and the students. I can tell you, I'm on the Endowment Committee. At Pacific, we have a student investment club, manages almost $4 million. It's one of the biggest in the country. And to meet those kids and to see what they can do at 20 years old is very impressive and very rewarding. And the last thing, you get to meet alums, some non-alums. You meet people from the professional world, from the arts, law, nonprofits. And it's a full circle. It's a way to really give back to the place that gave you your start. And it's one of the biggest honors I know of my lifetime in most of the regents, for sure. It's a really, really neat experience to help the place that gave you a start. I can tell you that myself, the rest of the regents are really excited about having President Callahan on our campus. You read about disruption out there in all the different industries. It's not only Uber and Zoom, it's education. As I said, Pacific is very well positioned. We're strong, but we need to act on a position of strength. And Chris knows, but these president candidacies are very competitive. I mean, 100 people want to do this. And we narrowed it down and we found somebody who had leadership and vision and who could position us for the next 20 years. And that's why our Board of Regents is so excited to have Chris here, and we're doing these tours. I will tell everyone on this call that it's great for awareness. It's great to give back. We'll talk about Pacific Gives. And it's especially important for our alumni to be involved, not only on these Zooms, but to give a little bit. The participation rate is extremely important when you look at these rankings out there, US News and World Report, Wall Street Journal, all the recruiters. It's not so much the dollars. We have we get a decent amount of money actually every year, so thank you for that. But it's the percentages. So if we could double our percentage or triple our percentage, our rankings would soar. And as Chris will tell you, President Callahan will tell you, our results at Pacific are outstanding. We're ranked number 6 in California for the results after school. So we have a great school, a great product. We just got to get the word out and make sure that we're ahead of the curve. So with that, Chris, I think we're going to open it up and try to ask you some questions. But before I do that, is there anything you'd like to say before we start?
Well, just to you, Evan, and thank you for doing this, and thank you for all you do. Evan mentioned the Board of Regents is a working board. I'm going to underscore the word working. This is the hardest working board in higher education that I've ever come across. And we're just so fortunate to have the depth and breadth of experiences that Evan, and I see some of our other regents, Regent Milne's on and Regent Rogers, that they bring to this board, and the dedication, because it is a lot of work. It is a lot of meetings, and they just do an absolutely marvelous job. So Evan, thank you, not just for being here, but for everything you do as a regent for Pacific.
Oh, thank you. So we're going to start with some pretty easy softball questions for President Callahan. Part of being a president is setting vision and bringing in some new vision. We've been pretty active at Pacific. President Callahan's made some really impressive hires. We have new enrollment, new school engineering dean, but our most recent addition is a really important one, Dean of Student Life. And part of our Pacific experience is this campus. So I'd love to hear President Callahan's vision for our campus and where our dean's coming from, and what do you anticipate coming from our new dean, and why are we excited?
Yeah, well, thanks so much, Evan. And Evan's referring to Maria Blandisi, who is the Dean of Students at UCLA, who will be joining us this summer. And that position is so important because we are such a student-focused institution. And Evan really described Pacific beautifully. It's all about that personalized learning experience and the whole experience for the whole person for those students. So that is an absolutely critical position. So some of you remember Judy Chambers, who was our Student Life VP for so many years and is still so active with us and a great advisor to me. Elizabeth Grigo and others. And we have this rich tradition of student life. And Maria absolutely fits in there. She's actually been talking to Judy and Elizabeth already to learn about the history and the culture of Pacific. And she's just going to be fantastic. And Evan, she has this really interesting mix of being focused on the immediate needs of students and students who are struggling, being able to provide the right services to them in a fast way and in an empathetic way, but then also being able to build an engagement system. Our students work really hard. They need to have a little more fun. And Maria is going to be working on that also. So we're just thrilled to have her as part of the new team.
I was gonna add on to that in today's technology, President Callahan, they're all texting and they're all on the computers. In the old days, we'd actually leave our dorm room and go out. So I'm curious what you think this new dean will do, and how, for everyone on the Zoom call, retention is really important. We want, as a board, we want really good outcomes. We, want to see 90% of our kids graduate, not 80. So I'm wondering what you think we can do a little differently to create more of a campus spirit and that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, thanks, Evan. And actually, we already have some things in place, and Maria is going to pick up that baton and do a lot more. One of the things that struck Gene and I when we got to Pacific is, fantastically smart, energized students, great faculty, unbelievable learning environments, a gorgeous campus. There needed to be a little more, I think, in terms of the school spirit, in terms of being able to engage outside of campus. So we're putting in place a whole bunch of different things, some physical. So we just actually ordered a whole bunch of new sort of fun things, putting in a bocce court and a giant chess set on the lawn and things like that, which seem sort of silly, but are actually really important, especially for students who are working so hard in the classroom. They need those sorts of experiences to be able to have some downtime, to fire up the fire pit, and just so they can relax a little bit. And then to intentionally drive a lot of our student traffic to our fantastic athletic events. So we are so fortunate to be at high-level Division I, WCC. I mean, it is a fantastic conference to be able to watch our 300 student athletes competing in the fields, in the courts, stadiums. But the way, as everybody knows here, the way our campus is situated, it's very close. All those fields are very close to everything, but they're not on the way to anything, right? You're not passing them. So we want to create some experiences and some simple things. Eberhart School Night at Spano Center, silly things like that, but to drive the traffic there, because once students are there, the students who love athletics will continue to come back. The students who don't, many of them will also come back, because as you all remember, part of it is just a social experience. And, and I've been at a lot of college athletic games, and sometimes the students are focused on the game and sometimes they're just chatting away, and both are good because it gets them, as you say, it gets them out and away from the screens and engaged and being able to, in a healthy way, enjoy the full college experience.
I think we should switch now to talk about COVID. Unfortunately, it's been a mess. My hat's off to President Callahan for getting us through this, and all the professors, students, staff at Pacific has not been easy to navigate, and we've continued to educate, which is really, really good. But when, Chris, can kids really get back? There's been a few announcements today. We got to get these kids back and safe. So where are we, and what do you anticipate?
Well, that's right, Evan. And we anticipate having all 3 of our campuses fully open for the start of fall semester. Here in Stockton, we've created a new program, which you can see I subtly have in my background, Back to Pacific, Ready, Set, Roar, which is a special 5-week program to almost be sort of a re-entry back into life for students. So remember, these students, they've been, by that point, will have been in their childhood bedrooms for the last 16 months, by and large. So for our freshmen who had to finish high school remotely, for our rising sophomores who have basically are 25% of the way through their college experience, never having been in college. Think about that. I mean, it's really crazy. So this is an opportunity, and we have a lot of financial aid, so students in need can come and do that full experience without any costs. And we're really excited about that, as again, that sort of re-entry into the fall. And we also have some special classes, and some of our best faculty we've asked to teach during that 5-week period. It's a combination of some of our very best faculty and me, who I would not put in that category as very best faculty. But I'm going to teach a course over at the Eberhard School on leadership, and I think it's just going to be a great experience. In preparation for that, we just announced this afternoon that we're requiring all of our students to be fully vaccinated. There are exemptions, for medical and religious reasons, but by and large, we expect most of those students to be vaccinated, and that is going to give us the ability to come back and to come back strong. And as Evan knows, we have this great advantage because of the work of Provost Paula Vicini. We actually have, on all 3 of our campuses, vaccination centers. So our students can come and get vaccinated by us. And so I think we're perfectly situated to get this year of COVID behind us, which we all want to, and move forward back to real life and real life learning on our campuses.
So Chris mentioned, President Callahan mentioned this Back to Pacific. I know we have some alumni relations people on this call and behind the scenes that are really responsible for reunions, and tell us what we're doing new and why it's so important for all of us to stay connected and get back. I do come, it's hard, but I'm coming from the East Coast, but everybody out there in the Bay Area, please come. Central Valley, please come. But President Callahan, explain what we're doing and why it's so important.
Well, and thanks, Evan, because we do want everybody back. And we're really, in October, we're really doing some special events around homecoming and family weekend. We want as many alums back as possible. We've really expanded. Kelly and her team are doing a fantastic job. There's going to be a lot more interactive activities for all of our alums, no matter when they graduated. And then at the end, we're actually going to have graduation because, as you know, Evan, that the class of 2020 and 2021, neither one of them have had the experience of walking across that stage. And we've done some terrific remote graduations. We just finished up a whole series this past weekend, but it's not the same. So we want as many of those to come back, and we hope you can join us and help celebrate those great students. And I will tell you, our facilities team has been working so hard on the campus. And I got a note from Judy Chambers just a couple of weeks ago. And she said, and now Judy's known this campus for a long time, Judy said this is the best shape she has ever seen this campus, and it is true. It is gorgeous. Steve Greenwood and his facilities team have just done an outstanding job. And you will see that. And I will tell you, Burns Tower looks like a different place. Burns Tower got a serious bath and renovation, and it looks fantastic. So we would just love to see as many of our alums as possible back for that weekend.
So before we throw it open, Chris, to alumni to ask questions, I just want to also thank everyone for the Pacific Gives. It was it's a lot of money that was raised. It was double or triple the amount that we've ever done. And what it shows me is that people have an affinity for the school. They love the school. So thank you very much. Please come back, stay connected. And now we'll open it up for questions.
All right, everyone. So it is now time for your questions to ask President Callahan or Regent Evan Dreyfuss. So there is a raise hand function underneath the reactions. You go ahead and click that and we'll see the raised hand. If you are unable to find that, go ahead and wave your hand around in your video screen and we'll try to get you called. So I believe we have an actual raised hand from Josh Foster. So if you want to unmute yourself.
Hey, President Callahan, I've joined a prior call. I'm glad to be able to join this one.
Good to see you. Thanks for joining.
Going off Evan's comment about the Pacific Gives, the Day of Giving, he mentioned that we experienced double or nearly triple the amount of fundraising as we have in prior years. Are there any factors that you feel like that you can point to as to the reasons why this year was so much better than prior years? It seems like that large of a jump is a tremendous positive for the university. So just wanted to get your take on that.
Well, thanks, Josh. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, the results were truly dramatic, both in terms of double the amount of dollars coming in, triple the amount of people giving, which to Evan's point is just as important. Because for our national rankings, and I give all the credit to our development team led by Scott Biederman. Scott really took the point on this. We did a lot of different things. Scott focused a little more on the schools and colleges where a lot of our alums have that affinity. And here's one of the secrets about fundraising is as Jim Dugoni knows, you need to ask. And then you need to ask again. And then after you finish that, you need to ask a third time. A lot of it is just hard work and then momentum. And I will tell you, our alums played such a big role in this because a lot of our alums were out there posting on social media and not only giving themselves, but encouraging others to give. And then you get this wonderful snowball effect. And I think that's exactly what you saw this year. And we expect that to continue in the years to come. But thanks for saying that, Josh, because really, and again, hats off to Scott and his team. Bernie Atterbury is, of course, our leader of development. But on this particular Pacific Gives, Scott was running point, and the whole team did a great job.
All right, and I believe we have a question from Chris Page, class of 2020.
Well, hello, President Callahan. It's nice to be here. And hello, Pacific community. I chose Pacific to complete my doctorate because of the personal feel. Years ago, I used to come on campus and go jogging with my dog, not even as a student. I just wanted to be part of it. Well, I just finished my doctorate in the last few months, and I really appreciate, and I hope everyone else sees that the resiliency of the faculty, staff, and administration to find their way through this and still help graduate students. So a big thanks to the School of Ed and Dr. McNair for helping me through. But I've been teaching online for 20 years now, and it's changed quite a bit. And I find a lot of those skills I've learned over the years has just made this a real interesting time. But I don't know if anyone here could have predicted what 2020 and 2020 would do to our campuses and our students and our faculty and everyone else. But it's a great opportunity to look forward and just say, knowing what we know now, what do the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years look like for our students?
Well, thanks, Chris. And first of all, congratulations on your doctorate. That is a wonderful achievement, and we are glad to have you as a proud alum. What are the lessons from the pandemic that we can apply in the future? And there are a lot of them, some small and some big. I'll give you one example of a small one, and this will affect how we teach across the board. And that is, up until 14 months ago, myself and most faculty members thought about guest speakers coming from within a 30-mile radius of campus. Right? That you brought them to campus, you bring them into your class. Well, now it's literally the entire world that you can bring in as guest speakers. That's going to add, I think, to the richness of the Pacific educational experience. Now, of course, nobody wants to be on Zoom right away, but in small doses, it's going to be very powerful. In terms of larger lessons, one is a little counterintuitive, and that is from talking to students and talking to faculty and talking to staff. What has come through loud and clear is, to Chris's point, everybody worked unbelievably hard. They were unbelievably resilient and flexible and did a fantastic job. And they do not want to be learning in this environment. They want to be on the ground. They want to have that full Pacific experience that you all have in your time at Pacific. But also, we have this technology now, and I think for different audiences, for older audiences, for returning students, for executive education and master degree programs, we think there's a great possibility to build out all online asynchronous programs where people who are working have the flexibility to continue their education, but don't have to be either geographically or time constrained. So I think those are some of what are going to be, I think, many lessons for us, Chris, as we go forward.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great response. I look forward to it.
All right. Next up, we have Robert Oakes, class of 86 and 90.
I wanted to just, hello.
Hi, Robert.
Welcome. I haven't met you in person yet. I look forward to it. I hear lots of nice things about you. I just wanted to comment on the giving is that I always intend to give, and sometimes I just don't get around to it, but I did get a request from staff to put it on my social network. And of course I wanted to do that, but I thought I really can't do that unless I give. So thank your staff for reaching out and asking me to put it on there, because I'm sure I'm like everybody else that gets a lot of those during those days of giving. And, but that extra little push just helped me to do that. And I, like I said, I'm just very excited to see you here and want to do everything I can to support you.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you for your contributions, and thanks for caring so much about Pacific. I see you're a double alum. Tell me what schools you were in.
The used to be the School of Business and Public Administration in 1986, and the McGeorge School of Law in 1990.
Wonderful. Two great schools, two of our great campuses. Well, Robert, thank you so much, and again, thank you for. And Robert's point is a good one, which is we all need reminding. We have such busy lives, which is why, while we don't want to pester people, you see multiple messages because we have so much going on. So thank you, Robert. We appreciate that.
All right, we have another hand raised from Marino. So if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself, class of 92.
Marino, don't say a word. I'm a terrible person. I just found out this week that you wrote to me, like, I don't know how long ago, and I never got the message. So,
well, it's understandable.
I know it is not, but I'm usually very good about getting back to folks. So my apologies.
No, that's quite all right. Well, welcome, and thanks for taking time today to meet with all of us. I was going to follow up on that question though, because I was curious about your thoughts about our U.S. News rankings. I've obviously been watching that over the years and been very disappointed. And so I've heard, and I'm sure that you've been doing research to try to understand what's going on. And I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on that topic, as well as what we're doing to improve.
Yeah, well, thanks, Marino. And I will tell you, when Ashley told me the other day when we found out that we missed your message, she said you're going to be doubly upset because one, I know you never want to miss an alumni reach out, but secondly, this is like one of your favorite topics, which is U.S. News and World Report. So I will preface it by saying that and Marino's 100% right about our U.S. News rankings, and let me tell you a little bit about sort of where we are and where we're going. But I will preface it by saying that, the U.S. News and World Report rankings are, they're controversial in higher ed because the methodology is not great. And you know what? I agree. The methodology is not great. You could say the methodology is awful. And having said that, it is still the single most referred to reference for parents of undergraduates going to try to send their school. So it has importance. And a lot of this, Marino, is, as you know, it's intentional. Are we intentional about raising our rankings? So if you look at whenever, let's say 15 to 20 years ago, we were in the top 100 of U.S. News and World Report rankings of national schools. That has slowly slipped, where this year we're 133rd. Now, I don't think there's a soul on this call who thinks we're the 133rd best university in the country. In fact, all the other measures other than U.S. News have us in the top 100, including the Wall Street Journal Times of London survey each year. We're number 18 in the West, but it doesn't change the fact that we have a U.S. News problem. So we've tackled that, Marino, in a couple of different ways. One is we're just finishing up a dashboard with all of the U.S. News measures, and some of them are quite good and important, like graduation rates and retention rates and diversity and other important elements. Others maybe less so, but they're still in there, like reputation. So the deans now have a dashboard where they can see their progress in all of the key academic elements, like graduation rates and retention rates. We are moving, and that's why Bernie and Scott are so focused on our alumni giving rate. I will tell you, of the 14, Marino saying, yeah, I'm sorry I asked this, right? But of the 14 U.S. News and World Report measures, the one we perform the worst in is in our percentage of alumni given. And we all know that's preposterous because there's such great affinity by our alums to the university. So we just need to be, as we've done now, and we'll continue to do with Pacific Gives and other initiatives, just to be more intentional about engaging our alums. So we need to get those numbers up. So literally, the way to move a number is to measure the number and make it a constant focus. So when I meet with the deans, and I'm on a schedule now where I'm going to meet with them every third week, we're going to go to the dashboards and we're going to be looking at these measures and talking about how do we move the needle on literally across the board. So I'm convinced that we're going to get back to, in the short term, the top 100. More importantly, just one more thing.
Sure.
More importantly, my 10-year goal, and I believe this is absolutely doable at Pacific, is to have University of the Pacific as the highest ranked small comprehensive university in the country. And so our competition there are places, as Regent Dreyfuss was talking about earlier, places like Pepperdine, Santa Clara, Loyola Marymount, and those types of schools. That's not a short-term project, it's a long-term project, but I'm absolutely convinced in 10 years we can be there.
Well, I love that goal for sure. And I think you're right. I think we can do it. I mean, one of the things that I was noticing that I was surprised by was just how low our 6-year graduation rate is.
And Marino, it's shocking. It's shocking for the quality of this institution.
Right.
Now, part of it is a lack of intentionality, and part of it is mechanics. So I'm going to give you an example. And and I'm going to try not to whip myself into a frenzy about this, but it sort of blows my mind. Among our worst performing students were our best students in graduation rates. So you're asking, what are you talking about, right? One of the great advantages we have at Pacific is we have these joint degree programs, right? Where you can come study the sciences and then go from Stockton straight to San Francisco and to the Goni School of Dentistry, literally one of the very best in the world. That's fantastic. We have the same program for the pharmacy school, where you can come, be a pre-pharm major, and then complete that, and then go straight to the Long School of Pharmacy. So the students were doing all of the work that an undergraduate had to do, and then going into these fantastic professional programs, they weren't getting an undergraduate degree. So many of those students who graduated in a very short period of time, 6 years, from the Long School with a PharmD, or from the school of from the Goni School of Dentistry with the DDS, are literally some of our most successful students were counted as dropouts because they were never conferred an undergraduate degree. Right. So part of it is kind of like self-inflicted, just bureaucracy, if you will, or sort of lack thereof. So those things are easy to fix. What's less easy to fix is looking at things, and I can tell you what we're going to be doing this summer is looking at what we call killer classes. We don't have a lot of them, but we have some. So what it's doing a statistical analysis. Right? Are there some courses where students are performing unusually poorly? Every university has these. The question is, are you looking at them, and then are you doing something about them? And the way to start that is to look at them, and the second part is to do something about it. We have identified a small series of courses that have a ridiculous fail rate. And my opinion on high fail rates for courses is that's a failure of us, not the student, right? Because we've already said you are good enough to succeed at University of the Pacific, therefore we are admitting you. Now, if you go into a particular course and a third of the students fail, that's on us. That's not on the students, that's on us. We're the variable. So we're gonna be looking at those. So those are some of the things, Marino, that we're gonna look at. I think you're gonna find that the graduation rate numbers is one of the ones that are probably most movable. And we need to, because they are much lower than they should be for the quality of this university. So,
thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm sorry for getting passionate about it, but it's so important because, you know, at the end of the day, we're in the graduation business, right? That's like, you know, that's what we do. We educate students and get them degrees so they can go on and succeed.
All right, next up we have Jim Degoni, class of '86.
The best class, Jim, 86.
Best class, that's right. Well, hello there, classmate and friend Evan Dreyfuss and President Callahan.
Hey, Jim.
You know, a quick follow-up on U.S. News and World Report. We could always opt out, right? At least in dentistry, I will say that in my father's 28 years as the dean, he had quite a bit of influence nationally, and you can thank him for the reason why dentistry still today is not ranked in U.S. News and World Report. Medical schools are, business schools, engineering, education, you name it, they are. And why is dental schools not? Because Art Degoni said it's an unfair process. He outlined all of it for all of the deans and called a special meeting and said, we are going to boycott it. And none of us are going to break that. And they have not broken it now for over 35 years. But we can't do that on the undergraduate level, and we understand that. But that is a remarkable statistic and one that continues to this day. I wanted to bring attention to the dramatic transformation our university has undertaken really in the 28 years I've worked at the university, moving from the liberal arts core and the preacher and teacher were the bulk of those that we were producing in the early years of our great institution, to now a remarkable mix of the liberal arts and the professional schools. And the latest and greatest addition to that offerings that we have is our School of Health Sciences, which is very robust and very quickly gaining attention. And with the need for healthcare in our Central Valley being so prominent, President Callahan, I thought that you could maybe talk a little bit about where you see us going with that School of Health Sciences, and how we can better meet and continue to meet the needs in our community here.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jim. And Jim's 100% right. This is both a need and a fantastic growth area for Pacific. I will tell you, the School of Health Sciences, brand new on the Sacramento campus, was, and she wouldn't say this, but I'll say it, was really driven by our provost, Maria Pallavicini, who has a health sciences background. She's leading a lot of our COVID efforts, all of our COVID efforts. So she's done a great job. And we're looking in a much more intentional way at the markets, So for instance, we're about to launch a nursing program this January, but it is very much focused on market need. And Maria and her team went out, looked at what, not just nursing programs in general, but what kind of nursing programs are needed, what kind of training are needed, particularly here in Northern California. And that's what we designed. And I think, I just love that approach, because it is, it is focused on not just educating these young people for careers that they're passionate about, but serving the needs of the community. And Pacific has always been about that. But in terms of our curriculum design, as Jim knows, we're just being much more intentional about that. And I'm just really, of all the things that we're doing, among the most exciting is, to Jim's point, the School of Health Sciences. It's going to be, and it's going to be growing a lot in the months and years to come.
Add on to that they did an amazing job, and shout out to Bree Bacon, their development lead there, on participation, for being such a new school. I think they were right up there as like number 1 or number 2. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's
Day of Giving.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're very proud of that. I will also say on Pacific Gives Day, our highest performing school would be the one that I would think, it would have been my last guess. And that's the Conservatory of Music.
Yeah.
So the Conservatory of Music, right, which is very small, and whose alums are, by definition, sort of musicians and people in the music industry, as opposed to a lot of our professional schools and the like. I was just stunned, and it gets back to just, a lot of hard work and focus. So thank you, Jim. We're closer to games, Jim. We're closer.
Excellent question. So I have a message in the chat from Alan Hardcastle. If you'd like to unmute yourself, you can ask it in person.
Well, okay. Good afternoon.
Alan, before you jump in, I gotta use Alan as an example of the quintessential Pacific alum. He is, when we talk about help us project the image, talk to other alums, if you follow Alan on social, which I do, he is out there all the time waving the Pacific flag among his network. And let me tell you, that makes a big difference. And I'm just, Alan, thank you for everything that you do. You are the model to me of what we would love for all of our alums to be so enthusiastic about our university.
Well, it's easy. I retired, and then the governor put us all on house arrest. So I sit in front of the computer and just, talk to the people that I can, the other people that are locked up. But my question is, now that we've gone through the May 1 deadline, which was kind of soft for all universities, what do admission numbers look like for the fall?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Alan. So, not an ideal situation for us as we're navigating COVID. And to Evan's point of earlier, there are some schools that are really suffering. Our goal was to be hopefully a little bit better than last year, because last year, remember, this time last year, COVID was thought to be more of a short-term thing than it turned out to be. So we were really nervous about this year, but we have a new leader in our enrollment strategy team, Chris Ferguson, who came to us from Occidental, a national voice in enrollment strategy. He's been working unbelievably closely with not just his team, but our great deans like Tim Carroll at the Eberhard School, who I see, and others, and our faculty. So we are right now, we have more incoming freshmen than we did last year. And we have more incoming freshmen than we did the year before, which was, of course, was a non-COVID year. Right now, we are tracking to have our third best year out of the last 6 years in terms of enrollment. That's stunning. That is stunning. Our yield rate is up almost 2%. So Alan, we had 4 levels of projections, you know, so 4 scenarios. And one was, we better get to 1. We hope to get to 2. 3 is an outside possibility. 4 is sort of going long. And we are between 3 and 4 and much closer to 4 than we are to 3. Unbelievable outcomes. And I just give all the credit to Chris Ferguson and his team, to our deans and to our faculty who've just done an absolutely marvelous job.
And then the idea as to what the retention will be from this year's entering class to being sophomores and able to come back to campus in July or August.
Yeah, that's right, Alan. And, you know, and honestly, sort of, you know, Pacific doesn't have a, you know, up until recently, a huge tradition of sort of real strategic retention measures. And we are, as Tim can tell you, we're obsessed about it now. And we had a fantastic result last year where our first-time freshman retention rate in COVID went up. I don't know of another school that happened this year. It's going to be the same thing, right? We have a lot of work to do, but we are just saddling up now. And we are going to have just, and a lot of it, as Alan knows, a lot of retention, it's retail. It's, you know, it gets down to literally, you know, Tim and I calling folks on the phone, and which we do, and to see how we can help. And fortunately, those who are in financial need, we're able to help them now with some of the federal monies that have come in. So we actually expect the retention to be high also, in addition to the first-time student enrollment.
Great news and great work by everyone at the university.
And Alan's such a pro at this. He knows the nuances of the questions to ask about enrollment. It's fantastic. Thank you, Alan, and thank you for everything that you do.
All right, and we have one question from the registration form that I think fits very well with Alan's just being up there, is talking about hashtag Pacific Friday, something you implemented, and why is that important to you?
Yeah, thanks for whoever asked that. And it gets back to that question that Evan talked about early on, which is school spirit. We know the pride that our alums and our students and our faculty and staff have in Pacific. We haven't done a great job of, I think, being intentional about amplifying it. So Pacific Friday is just a way to sort of keep Pacific top of mind for everybody. And it's, you know, and it seems a little corny, but I think it's going to be really exciting, where it gives us the opportunity to wear our orange on Fridays, to post something on social media. And it's real, you know, hashtag Pacific Friday, hashtag Pacific Proud. And it's really starting to come in. We didn't expect a huge uptick in the middle of COVID, but certainly when the students are back, we expect that to continue. And part of it is just the repetition, just keep on going after that. And again, the notion of keeping Pacific top of mind, especially for our alums, is absolutely critical. Jim Nagoti reminds me of, this is nothing new, that back in the day, Jim and others started that tradition at Pacific, but it did fade. And this is taking what was an excellent idea and just sort of supercharging it and try to get us back to that level.
Wonderful, thank you so much. So I don't see anyone else with their hands raised. We'll give everyone just one more moment if you're still trying to figure out Zoom, or if you just want to raise your hand. But if there are no more questions, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Regent Evan Dreyfuss to take us out for the day.
Okay, well, I want to just conclude on a couple comments. I thought the questions were excellent. I thought Alan's question was really poignant. You know, when you think about Pacific, and I've seen this, you know, at the board level now for 6 years, we have, our recognition's high. People know us. We have plenty of applicants. We need a higher yield. Part of the yield is money, I'll be honest with everyone. Our endowment is really good. I mean, it's approaching $600 million, which is really good for our size school. And why that's so important, I'm on the Endowment Committee, so I can give you a few little secrets. But we probably draw 4% a year off that endowment. So $24 million. Of that, 60% will go to student aid. This is to help kids, empower kids to really make a change in their life and go for it. So if we get 60% of that 24 million, that's like maybe 16, 17, 18 million dollars. That's $18,000 scholarships. So if we can grow our endowment through good investments, which we're doing, and also through giving, we could get more financial aid out and get those yield numbers up. If we can move our yield numbers up by 5%, it's the whole difference in our budgets. It's exactly what we need to do. So the Endowment Committee is an important one. I'm on that committee. We have a really, really one of the best consultants in the United States. The numbers have been really, really good. I'm proud to say that the school is in really good shape. It gives our school a really good foundation. Like the COVID was, you know, that's a tough situation. That knocked out some colleges. That never was an issue for Pacific. Our endowment's so big, so strong that if we needed 10 or $15 million, that's not an issue. We could do it. It also gives President Callahan and his staff the ammunition, the backing, the foundation to go out and try some new things that he's talked about. And that's one of our things. We could get our incoming class from 800 or 900 kids to 12 or 1,300 pretty easily, we think. And that would be really, really helpful for the university. And as Chris said, it's a momentum game, it's a ranking game, but we could be a top 50 college in the United States. You know, President Callahan, I love President Callahan for this. He says, why not? You know, why isn't, you know, we could be the Middlebury of California. We could be the Colgate of the Central Valley easily. We have that education. The results are there. I want to thank everyone for being on this call. You are one of our best advocates to get out there. I got to call Alan to figure out how to do all that social networking, because it's word of mouth. It's getting out there with people and parents and saying, this is what the power of Pacific is. And we probably haven't done enough of that. You know, some of these other schools, if you go to a Notre Dame or Santa Clara, that's part of their DNA. They just do it. I think we could do a better job of it. And I'm counting on all of us to, you know, rally the troops and do that, because we have a lot to be proud of. The results are there. The education's there. The friendship's there. I mean, when I think quintessential education in the United States, Pacific, you get somebody on that campus and get them there for 4 years, they're very happy they came. So with that, I think, Chris, President Callahan, if you have any other closing comments, I think we're kind of out of time here. We're like 3 minutes short. We're a good crew. So yeah. Why don't you close us out? But I want to thank everybody for being on, and it's been an honor to help moderate this.
Well, thank you, Evan, for doing this and doing such a great job. And again, thanks for all you do for our university as a region and as a great supporter. Thanks to everybody for joining us. Evan and I really enjoyed the conversation. Some great questions. And I will ask you October 8th, 9th, and 10th, homecoming. Please come. This is our back to Pacific move. It is we're celebrating our university past, present, and future. We'd love to have you and get to engage with you in person in real life. And on a final note, if you have the opportunity, on my social media accounts, I posted our baccalaureate service. I see Alan Cook here, who as always is our leader of our interfaith baccalaureate service at Morris Chapel, which we're so thankful for. Please take a look at it. And at the 21-minute mark, we have the last lecture, which is by Professor Derek Isetti. Some of you may remember his father and uncle. It is among the most moving, most powerful addresses I have ever heard. It's not that long, but if you have the opportunity, please take a look. The whole ceremony is beautiful, but Derek's comments and storytelling is really quite extraordinary and so representative of this great university. So, Evan, thank you so much. To our alums, thank you for being here, and thank you for all you do.